All right. Good morning, everyone. It's 7 o'clock on April 10th, 2024, and we'll call the meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council Committee to hold order. Roll call, please.
Kwame.
Here.
Fergus absent. Kramer.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Here.
Yeah.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum. First item of discussion this morning, the Natural Resource Advisory Committee is here, and so we will welcome them to have a conversation about no mow May and some other things. So we'll have Jean Bowman welcome them. Good morning, Jean.
Good morning. The staff liaison to this commission is Guy Taylor, who's on vacation today. So I'm filling in for him, and really I'm just going to introduce the Natural Resource Advisory Committee. It's one of our 13 boards and commissions, and I'm going to introduce their chair, Cedar Walters, who's going to tell us a little bit about what their priorities are, and then we'll close with Jake talking about the no mow May request. Cedar.
Thanks, Jean. Well, good morning, Mayor, council members. So we just wanted an opportunity to kind of introduce other members of this committee that you may not have met before, and really actually invite you to engage with us on topics that relate to conservation or natural resources in the city of Fergus Falls. So we're just a group of people serving on this committee, and we all just share an interest in conservation and sustainability and protecting natural resources. My personal kind of expertise that I bring to the committee is in recycling and composting and solid waste issues. I was with the solid waste department with the county for about 5 years, so I bring that to the committee. And a couple of things that we are working on is reviewing some locations for potential municipal solar projects to save money and increase energy efficiency. So we're looking at reviewing some of those sites. I know we brought some of that information forward last month. We also, as a committee, review the native planting plans that residents submit just to make sure that they are planting appropriate native species in their yards. They have a plan and indicate and commit to that plan in their yard being maintained. Another thing that has been a part of the committee is working with Jean to get out relevant information on native plantings or recycling or waste reduction and other related topics to the public, to the residents, through either social media or some of the utility inserts. So it's been great to work with her on some of those. And one thing we've been working on this spring specifically is working with Windflower Natives to put on a native planting workshop at the Fergus Falls Public Library on April 25th as a part of Earth Day programming. And that's just an effort to further educate residents on if you're going to plant natives in your yard, we want you to be using best practices. We don't want it to be an eyesore. We want you to do it well and have that information available to residents, and also talk them through how to use that native planting plan that is on the city website so that they're just doing things correctly. One member who is not here today, otherwise everybody will get a chance to just come up and you can meet them, is Chris Burns. He's an Otter Tail Power employee, and so he's on the committee with us as well. But I just want to invite up Beth Monkey, who is one of our committee members. Thank you.
Thanks, Cedar.
Good morning. I'm Beth Monkey, and I'm on the committee mainly because I am involved with a climate action group in town, and we do a lot of outreach to the community and education on environmental issues. One of the things that we're working on is this Earth Day project that you have in front of you. So it's nice to be on a committee and be able to work on these issues with the city council as well. So I was just going to highlight some Earth Day things so you're aware of some of the things that we're doing. And we have on our Earth Day committee representatives from the Prairie, from the Friends of the Library, from the Friends of the Prairie. So, and Cedar is on the committee, so there's just a wide variety of representation on the committee that's doing these activities. We have a big day on the 27th with a lot of family-friendly activities at the Prairie. We're going to have a face painter and food trucks and nature hikes with families and an artist who's going to help people do paintings of watercolors of the Prairie. Lori Moxness from Otter Tail Power is going to be talking about how you can access all the monies that are available right now to do things like heat pumps and heat pump dryers, and there are just so many incentives right now to make transitions to cleaner energy and save money while you upgrade your home and everything. So we have somebody from the MPCA coming to talk about our waters and particularly lead in the water. And we also are connecting with an organization called Beyond Plastics, which is a national organization of speakers that talk about plastics and how that's impacting our environment without ourselves, but also within ourselves too. And then we have Molly Stoddard and Jacob MacArthur doing a walk, talking about the book Braiding Sweetgrass, which I guess I haven't read it, but it's a good book. We have an EV car show. And then some other activities that week. We have a trash dash. So we're getting a bunch of groups to go pick up trash in the neighborhoods. And on this poster, there's a QR code. If you scan that, it will take you to a lot more information about the trash dash. But we already have many groups. I know Morning Rotary's already signed up to be part of it, the ALC, Hillcrest. There are just a bunch of groups that are already hopping on board with that trash pickup. We have a Douglas Wood, who's a children's author. And then, like Cedar said, the native plantings. And then in May, this is kind of an extended Earth Day thing. We have Paul Douglas, the retired WCCO meteorologist, is coming to talk about climate and its impact on our communities. So just wanted you to be aware so you can help promote some of these great activities that we have going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. And just for people watching at home, so that's Saturday, April 27th
Yes.
to celebrate Earth Day, which is Monday, April 22nd.
Yes.
So these are all take place at the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center, correct?
Yes, the Douglas Wood is the 22nd at the library. He's
Got it.
also going to get the schools. The Native Prairie's at the library on the 25th. Paul Douglas is at the college on the 18th of May.
Thanks, Beth.
So I'm Cody Duck. I'll keep my side brief, but I've been I work for the West Otter Tail Soil and Water Conservation District here in town. So just a little bit of that where I work, and then my background. I've just my previous job and everything's all been conservation based, natural resource based with invasive species management, native plantings, native grass mix seedings, anything like that. So if you ever get questions about that, type of thing from people too, that's something we would help with for management purposes. So
Thanks, Cody.
Hi, my name's Jake Nelson, and I too work for the Soil and Water Conservation District here in West Otter Tail. I'm also the president of the Pheasants Forever chapter here in town, so very involved in the conservation world, you could say. And it's, I guess, I'm the lucky person that gets to ask for no mow May. So basically, we're requesting that we waive the 6-inch height requirement on native or on grass lawns here in town through the month of May. And no mow May would last obviously through the month of May. The benefits are that it allows native bees, butterflies, pollinators a chance to emerge in the spring, allow them a chance to feed on some sort of dandelions or clover, things that are early emergers that would normally be mowed right away. It reduces greenhouse gases by mowing less. It reduces water usage, and it also would reduce fertilizer use and things like that. There are some cons to it. One of them is being that it doesn't go far enough for pollinators, and that's one of the main arguments against it. But to that we say that's your chance to plant a native planting in your yard or look at something like that. So thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
Any questions on that? Or
I guess in the past, Guy has been in support of this. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. Is Guy in favor of doing the same thing as we've done the past several years? Does anyone?
Yes.
And I think at our meeting discussions, it would be more or less allowing it, not necessarily promoting it, but allowing it to happen. So
Yeah. Okay. And so the council could consider that at their Monday meeting if they'd like. to do as we've done in the past?
I just got one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
And Guy's not here to answer it, but, I think last year we talked about that no mow May went into almost June too with some of the people. They didn't mow it and, we don't want to be punishing people for it, but I mean, it's just like, we just want to make sure that the month of May is done and within a week or something. I think it went past. We talked about it last night. I wish Guy was here to ask that question. Maybe we'll talk about it Monday night.
Yeah, I think typically most people have a June 1st,
Right.
needs to come into back into the requirement. So if it takes a week to get there, you should.
And I
start
understand that,
planning
but I think
ahead.
it drug into it, and I just wanted to ask, and maybe.
Yeah, Your Honor, Councilmember Rachel's, in the memo that Guy provided, kind of the last sentence there, it says all lawns would need to comply to the height maximum by or on June 1st.
Yeah, I read that, but.
That would be the expectation, is that they make that plan ahead of time and they're in compliance on June 1st or before.
And that is a weekend. So, like, June 1st is Saturday, Sunday. So, hopefully by the 3rd, Monday the 3rd.
Yeah, when we're out looking.
Would someone like to make a motion, we bring this to the council for
I
discussion?
can make that, Your Honor.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Brent. Any further questions for Jake or any members of the Natural Resource Advisory Committee? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Natural Resource Advisory Committee, for all you do.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too.
Next up is a discussion of a special meeting notice related to the TIF at the property of 801 West Stanton Avenue. We'll call on our Community Development Manager, Clara Beck. Good morning, Clara.
Good morning, everybody. This is kind of a mishmash of things, but what my ultimate goal this morning is to tie together some disparate parts of a project that we've talked about in standalone aspects and put them together into one initiative so that when we move into our next meetings coming up on the 15th and then hopefully a special session on the 24th or thereabouts, you have an idea of where we're going with this project. So in your memo, I laid out some of the findings that we've had in studies in the past regarding workforce housing needs. We have an opportunity right now, as you're aware, to acquire 801 West Stanton Avenue. We have a grant to help us cover that cost and get that cleaned up. And then the ultimate goal would be to turn that site into workforce housing. We have received a letter of intent from a developer who is well-known in the outside the metro area. So he's located in Walker, Minnesota. And he has done the most number of workforce housing projects in the entire state. So he has quite a portfolio behind him. I think we've introduced him to you before in a closed session. But he has officially submitted a letter of intent. We wouldn't act on that probably for another couple of meetings. This is just to let you know that that's out there, that he is interested in acquiring 801 West Stanton after the city has acquired it. So we still need to go through our purchase agreement process and the loan agreement process with Mark Christofferson to purchase that property, 801. And then upon that purchase, we could have the discussion about the LOI with the developer. But I just wanted to tee up some of our conversations that we're going to be having about workforce and about the request for TIF that you're going to be seeing on Monday. We are going to be holding a public hearing on that. You'll get your memo about the length of the TIF and the financial analysis on Thursday with your packet materials. But we are looking at likely a full TIF district of 26 years. It's possible that we could shave off a few of those years, but that's really what the market is dictating right now, and you'll learn a little bit more about that on Thursday in your packet, and then on Monday we'll have a chance to discuss it. But I wanted to put all of this out there so you can kind of see where we're going with the project. Our ultimate goal is we're going to get about 60 units of workforce housing. Our plan back in 2021 told us that we needed between 55 and 65, so we're hitting that sweet spot. Initially, the project was looking at about 58 units, but with efficiency, they added 60, or they added 2 more to get us to that 60. So I think it's a really good project. It's going to be good for Fergus Falls, and I'm looking forward to the TIF discussion, and I'm here for any questions that you might have before we start moving into those discussions. And then also to talk a little bit about our special session and what time of day works best for you. So the goal is to give you enough time to look at the TIF information and then take in any public comment, any of your own comments before you make your decision on that. So what we're going to do is and this also allows us to get the purchase agreement taken care of on the 15th, because we don't want to go into a TIF agreement on something that we don't have an agreement in place to actually purchase. That doesn't make a lot of sense in the scheme of things. So we're going to have the public hearing on the 15th for the TIF, but then you're not going to actually take action until a later meeting. And the meeting that we're hoping for right now was noon on the 24th, but I'm hearing that noon might not be the right time. So I'm wondering if there's a better time on the 24th for a special session to discuss the TIF.
Could we just do it right, we have a committee of the whole meeting, don't we, that week morning? Oh,
No.
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 Or should we just do it at the morning meeting then?
So,
We just don't have any meetings.
It just makes it easier for the.
Al,
7 a.m.
any preference? Brent?
Well, for
7
me,
a.m.?
usually the later, because I already got to take time off for the next day for the Board of Equalization.
Right.
As my phone interrupted, my schedule changes quickly, so sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. This is a meeting of the council, right?
Yes.
Public obviously will be invited, but
Yep.
the intention is not to, so 7 a.m., if that works for everyone, is that okay?
And we do the normal notice, getting the information out there
And
in
again,
plenty
the
of time.
public, of course, they're invited, but the intention is not, the intention is for the council to discuss that, right? We'll have a public hearing
On the
at a
15th.
city council meeting on the 15th. Does 7 a.m. work for you, Jim?
Yeah.
Laura?
That's the best for me, yep.
Scott?
7 a.m.
The Otter Tail County Workforce Summit is that same day. What is the time of that meeting? I don't remember if that's a morning or an afternoon or
I
both
think
or
it
all day
starts
or
at,
what it is.
it start at 9?
Yeah, it was a social hour at 8:30 and then sessions at 9, I want to say off the top of my head. So
We
this would
have-
actually afford the ability to do the meeting and get over there if
Yeah.
somebody wished to attend.
And we do, from the city side of things, we do have Mike Hartwell going to the Workforce Housing Summit, and he won't be at the earlier meeting.
Right. Works for me.
All right.
An earlier time, especially to allow for that, I think would be great.
Great.
Well, let's not go any earlier than 7.
No, that's great.
All right.
Yeah, I won't be here.
All right, well, we'll
Does
set
anybody, any
7.
questions or anything that was in the memo that you're interested to learn more about?
Everybody understand the timeline and we'll have the public
April
hearing.
24th?
Yeah,
April
so the public
24th,
hearing will be on the
7 a.m.
15th. And then we'll have a official meeting, 7 a.m. on the 24th to take action. That's the
Yep.
intention, right?
And just for the record, somebody could ask why we don't wait till May 6th. The developer is working on a workforce housing application, which is driving the timeline, and that's due by the end of
April. Yeah, April 30th.
So that's why we have to have the special meeting.
Yeah, and the TIF acts as the local match. So the breakdown right now is, and this is just from very preliminary numbers that I've seen from Baker Tilly, but I believe it's 39% of the project could come through this workforce housing grant, and then 10% of that, 10% of the project would be TIF financing, and then bank and equity from the developer to make up the rest of it. So the way that the workforce housing project or program works is you have to have local contribution, and that is generally tax increment financing. And right now, the state is looking at that number that's awarded through TIF, and then they will double that in their grant toward the developer. So it's a really good project. They've got a lot of money in that pot right now. They are not going to be doing another round next year, so time kind of is of the essence to try to get this project to go right now. They've got 39 million in that pot currently, so I think we have a fairly good shot at getting a good project.
Well, thanks for your work on this, Claire. I know
Yeah.
these projects are always complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces, especially with the acquisition of the land and the grant that went with it. So we look forward to a good conversation on the 15th and then again on the 24th. So I guess we'd look for a motion to bring to the council just to set that meeting at 7 a.m. on the 24th, as well as
Make that motion.
you see that, and then we'll also that same motion, Scott, authorize the city to enter into the purchase agreement
Absolutely.
and then to approve the negotiation of the loan agreement with the current property owners of 801.
Yeah.
We'll bring that up for consideration on Monday night. Everyone go with that? Someone second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Anthony. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Clara. Next, we'll call on our city administrator, Andrew Bremseth, for the 2024 Mill and Overlay Improvement Project. Good morning, Andrew.
Yeah, good morning, Your Honor, members. Brian was not able to be here today, so I'll take the next handful of items, and then he will be present on Monday. So if there's a question that I'm not able to answer this morning, I would encourage us to move the conversation to Monday, and he'll be able to answer those questions for you. Kind of turning the page a little bit, and a sure sign of spring is talking about street projects. So city staff has substantially completed the plans and specs for our annual mill and overlay project. I'll direct your attention to the screen here. These are the street candidates that we've identified for the 2024 mill and overlay project. They are Sherman Street from Douglas Avenue to Channing Avenue, Sheridan Street from Adolphus to Channing, Maybell from Adolphus to Channing, and then Adolphus from Sheridan to Maybell. And then we also, that little segment in white there is going to be an alternate bid, and that is on Channing Avenue from Sherman to Sheridan. So certainly some major needs in that area if anybody's driven those streets. I just did last night in advance of this, and a couple of those segments are real good candidates. Brian has estimated that the probable construction cost for the base bid is $278,500. The alternate section there in white to be $58,500. And because of those estimates, we do have to follow a public bidding process. So that's why we're requesting the ability to advertise for bids and accept the plans and specs. We do not have a scheduled bid opening, but Brian anticipates that'll happen in early May. And with favorable bids, if that happens, we will likely come back to the council to expand the project and add additional candidates to the list. This work is scheduled to be completed by fall, so this will be a summer project. And our budget for the year is $324,400 in our 2024 levy. That Brian indicates that includes engineering and contingency cost, and we may be requesting to carry additional funds over from last year, depending on where pricing comes in, and then the ability to add additional candidates as well. So the request again before you this morning is to accept the plans and specs for those streets and to give the engineering department the ability to go out for bids and work through that process. Those bids, of course, once opened, will come back to the council for approval.
Thank you, Andrew. And we can bring this to the council through a motion. Brad, thank you.
I have a second.
Thanks, Jim. Questions for our assistant city engineer?
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. It's got a nice ring to it.
Well, you all might demote me after the next item, so we'll see.
All right, next item is Downtown Riverfront Phase 2 site improvements.
All right, thank you, Your Honor, members. This was talked about last fall, and I will just say that I was not at that meeting. I believe it was right at the time my daughter was born, so I wasn't privy to the conversation, but I do know that there was some requests made to bring additional information back about the overall budget in relation to this topic. So I will say this. There's three options kind of before you. The first being the decorative steel fence, which is on the screen now, that matches the fence that is on the parking lot side of this project, as well as the Phase 1 fence. The second option, and let me just say that's $70,425. That's the pricing that we got from Comstock. The second option is a wooden cedar split rail fence. As you can see here, that's similar to the fence that's around the rain garden here in City Hall Park. That was just shy of $23,000 to use that option. And then the third option, as Brian presents here, is to monitor use and decide at a later date. To address why a fence is not already part of the project, there was a bid alternate when we bid this out, which was bid alternate number 2, which would have continued the riverfront trail downwards a little ways into the grass. And as part of that, there was a fence mounted on the trail on the south side of that trail, which would have had that physical separation from the splash pad to the riverfront. That alternate was not awarded ultimately because of where bids came in. Bids came in higher than anticipated. We were in cut mode. That's when the fundraising campaign was launched to try to make all this come together and work. Since that time, we've heard from a number of people that feel like that's a very important component to this project, specifically the senior center. When we met with the senior center to talk more about this project, they had two major concerns. One of them was a fence between the splash pad and the parking lot, which we were pleased to be able to tell them was included in the project. The other one was a fence between on the riverfront, between the splash pad and the river. And, I just reflect on some of those conversations and the wisdom that people that have kind of seen it all share when it comes to what needs to happen to protect our kids. So I guess the reality is that this truly is a public safety issue. Watching a lot of the construction happen out my office window, you realize that this riverbank is much steeper than I think anybody ever anticipated. It was quite the chore to watch them even cut trees down with equipment. And the thought of kids running kind of, with nothing to stop them out of the splash pad down this steep hill and riverbank, I think is something we really need to think long and hard about. And I would recommend strongly that we go with option number one because it does provide adequate safety protection. I think option two, it would slow somebody down, but it's not going to stop somebody. And I don't want to wait and do nothing and see a tragedy happen because, yes, it could be real bad. So anyway, I think the conversation you guys had last time centered around the budget. And we're projecting right now at this stage of the game, which is real close to the end of the project. Substantial or final completion is the end of next month. And we're looking at about $219,000 remaining in the construction contingency. I think we wanted to get a good idea as to what our contingency budget looked like before making this decision. We started with a 10% construction contingency, which was $359,000. We've spent about $140,000 using round numbers of that contingency. So we've used about 39 to 40% of the contingency. So we still have a healthy contingency. Like I said, that leaves just over $219,000, which could cover the cost of this fence and then other unforeseen construction items. But again, at this stage, it's very unlikely that there's anything that's unforeseen or that's going to pop up. So ultimately, it's up to the council to decide how they want to do this. There's a map in the packet showing the location of that fence. It would come from where the trail connection stops, right there. So where the trail connection stops, all the way along the riverfront, and then connect back up into the corner there on the other side of the restroom buildings to the parking lot. So it really kind of barricades the entirety of that project area. So that's the conversation before you, and looking for the direction the council wants to go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Questions?
Yep.
Just, so Andrew, what I'm hearing is really there's no requirement that a fence has to be there.
Yes.
Of course, we're all safety minded, which I think we need to be. Has there been any debate or talk of basically splitting this difference? Let's say the city says, yeah, we'll do a fence, but we would do what the cost of a split rail fence would be. And those who are asking for donations, or the group who's doing that, maybe they could pay for the rest of it. That would bring it up to that that metal fence. So I think, what is it, about maybe $50,000 difference there?
Yeah, the conversation hasn't happened, mostly because there's still a gap in fundraising that needs to happen. So to add another $50,000 to that, I don't know that I could stand here and say that the money would come in.
Right. I just, maybe somebody's pretty passionate about that, if it's, safety issues and things that might jar a wallet opening. I don't know. And at least the city could still put forth some money towards that. But as far as the whole amount, since the budget issues came up earlier, just something to think about.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, and I will just, Your Honor, I failed to mention, you're exactly right, Al. There's nothing from a code perspective that requires anything to happen. That's completely correct.
So give those numbers on the contingency. It's 200 and what was the?
Yeah, we have remaining in the contingency is just north of 219,000. This would be, if we did the decorative fence, it's 70,425.
So we'd still have
Still have
$145,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And with substantial completion to take place in May, is there a flurry of activity at the end that could eat up this contingency?
Not likely. Bolton and Mink, their memo that was included in the packet, kind of, they feel like we have the ability with the remaining contingency to cover the fence and anything else that may pop up. So they don't have a lot of concern about running of the contingency, that 219,000.
Yeah, it seemed to me to, last thing for me, but if there's anything in a contingency, if it's a safety concern, I mean, that would certainly, obviously we probably should have caught that at the beginning and made it not an alternate. We didn't. Here we are now. If we do see it as a safety concern, I don't know how you'd argue that there's a better use for contingency funds that are available. But I guess Jim.
I think that if there's money available, it's a safety issue. I think we should go with option one. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. We're talking about young kids, and a split rail fence is not going to stop any kid from going on through if they're running at full speed. I firmly believe we should go with option one. We have the contingency money there. Go ahead and do it.
Is that a motion to the?
That's a motion.
To the council for that consideration. Thanks, Jim. Someone like to make a second?
I'll second.
Scott, Brent?
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go with Jim and lean on that. I mean, number one, it matches the one on the other side. Number two, the kids are not going to be able to get over it. My wife ran a daycare. We had a split rail in the front yard. Didn't stop them, especially when they're going to be possibly going at a high rate of speed down the hill. Plus, number two, I would assume the maintenance down the long run, split rail fences don't last forever. They will start to rot. They will start to fall apart. And there's going to be, as far as I'm concerned, I think the maintenance down the road is going to be a lot less on a steel.
Thank you, Brent.
I suppose my only thing would be, like, how you say there's still a gap on the fundraising. Is that not going to eat into the contingency? So the 219,000 contingency is what, if you see what I mean?
So a little fundraising update for you. Your goal for that group was $2 million. And to date, we have physically collected $1.4 million over that. So $1,415,000. We have expectations of people that have said they're going to give of another $379,500. So that brings that up to $1,794,000. So there is still a gap as of today of $205,000. We just met with the fundraisers again yesterday, and there is still expectation of people that aren't on the list yet to give some larger donations too. Of course, we don't know that as of today, but that's where we're at. So right now the gap is 205 as of today. But they're continuing to work on that and see where it comes in. If there's ultimately a gap at the end of this, I'll be back talking to you about how we'll bridge that gap, of course. But as of today, they still have the goal of getting that last 205, so.
Thanks, Bill.
Yes.
Would
it be just to hold it off until the May 6th meeting to see if somebody wants to step up to the plate? I mean, is that going to make a difference, Andrew? Maybe you could answer that question.
Well, I mean, ultimately that would be fine. It wouldn't probably be in place by May 30th or May 31st. I'll let the cat out of the bag, I guess. We're planning for a grand opening celebration on May 30th. The contract says the completion has to be done completely by May 31st. So that would be fine. I would just say that there's going to be a significant number of people at an event in this location on May 30th, which is probably going to be crazier than ever. So if we're truly looking at it from a safety perspective, it would be good to do what we can to have it in place by that point in time, because I envision that'll be one of the peak times where there's the most number of people in that space, because it's a planned event as opposed to organically people showing up. But So yeah, you could
Okay.
wait,
That's-
but there would
you answered
be,
my question.
be less likely that the fence would be
Yep.
installed. I don't know that. Brian would be able to better answer that question.
Yeah, okay.
We have a motion to bring it to the council, and then if on Monday night, if they decide to hold that vote until May 6th, they can do that. How's that?
Okay.
I
Perfect.
think equally though we should still, I mean, because technically you've got 219,000 in that fund, and if you're 205 short, you've actually only really got 15,000 in there. So we don't really have a contingency of 219. So I mean, you know, from a hard number point of view, you know, that's a reality.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to be I don't disagree on a safety aspect. I just think we need to look at how we're going to fund it. You know, because if we take it out of that pocket, we've got to put some money back in from somewhere else.
Bill, do you
And
wanna-
we have the expectation that that other 379, we haven't collected that either, but we do trust that will come in.
Yep.
We've had very good experience in Fergus Falls with people, you know, paying their pledges, and, I mean, Fergus Falls is very good about that as a community. So, you know, just,
Yeah.
we don't have the 379 in either, but we do expect that to come.
All right, so there's a motion to bring this to the council.
I do know that there's one donor out there that they are working on right now that made a commitment, but he doesn't remember doing it, but it will come through, so I know there's one big donor out there right now.
I think that's been all resolved now, so.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Jim. All right, so there's a motion to bring this to the council on Monday night with option 1. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. A motion carries. Next item for discussion is the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources State Park Road Account Program, Public Improvement 5376. And again, Andrew Bremsat.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Members, a couple of items here forthcoming that are good news, so that's always fun. Maybe I'll earn that title back, Assistant City Engineer. It has a good ring to it. But in all honesty, we received word that we received a grant from the DNR State Park Road account. If you recall, last October, the council authorized staff to submit this grant application. There was $4 million statewide. And these funds can be used to improve local access roads to state parks, state campgrounds, public water access, and other eligible recreation areas. We did apply for the access road to D Lagoon Park. A couple of criteria. It has the regional park status, but also the public water access, making that an eligible project. So we applied for $210,000, and we received $209,049. So over 99% of the project request was funded. So that's always nice to see. Brian mentioned that he anticipates starting this work in the summer of 2025 after the D Lagoon project, the campground improvements and ball field work are complete. There is a map on the screen. The yellow section, which is, you know, the entrance road in, and half of that loop is the funding from this grant opportunity. The red was already complete back in 2021. That included the little blue circle there at the access. And then that kind of aqua or teal colored blue, which makes up the remainder of the loop, will have to be funded elsewhere. And that's about $80,000 is what Brian's anticipating the cost would be. And we're contemplating using funds out of our park and rec budget and or the annual mill and overlay funds, part of our street budget to finish the remainder of that loop. And again, that would be either in conjunction with or after this project. So we wouldn't be looking at this year, we'd be looking at 2025 or beyond. So a little bit of time to plan where that 80,000 comes from, but that will then complete the entirety of the road system at D Lagoon Park. So that's really a positive thing. The proposed improvements in the yellow section there consist of full depth bituminous patching as needed and then resurfacing throughout the entirety of that area. So at this point, with the council's blessing on Monday, we would initiate public improvement number 5376, which is the D Lagoon Park Access Road Improvement Project. And then we'd authorize city staff to accept the state park road account offer in the amount of $209,049.
And we can bring that to the council through a motion. Thank you, Brent. Thanks, Jim. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item number 6 is Freiburg Roundabout Improvement Project, Public Improvement 5362.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Members, this is pertaining to the roundabout on Fur and Freiburg Avenue in partnership with Ottertail County. You all authorized us to go forward with a grant application to cover the city's share of that project from the LRIP, which is a local road improvement program grant opportunity through MnDOT. Previously, the council approved this. I think it was the only time with this council the mayors had to vote. So obviously a little bit of a split issue, but at that time, the thought was the money would come from Minnesota state aid. Because of this grant opportunity, the grant covers that cost and the funding won't come out of our state aid account, which will allow that to be spent elsewhere. So really kind of good news. We received $790,000 as part of this grant application. It's estimated that the city's cost portion is approximately $730,000 plus any non-eligible municipal storm work, which is determined through that state aid review process. So we anticipate we'll probably spend the entirety of that $790,000 that was received through this grant. So with the council's blessing, we will authorize Brian to accept the LRIP grant offer and work through that process with MnDOT. And again, I don't know the timing today on that roundabout, but I know that this will cover the bulk, if not all, of the city's cost portion of that roundabout. So it talks about in your packet what the city's responsibility is. 1/3 of the cost of the street repair, sidewalk, and lighting included in the resurfaced area of the roundabout. 100% of the cost of the non-storm sewer municipal utilities. 1/3 of the cost of storm sewer placement based on MnDOT stormwater analysis. 100% of costs for permanent or temporary easements adjoining Freiburg Avenue, and then a pro rata portion of engineering in an amount representing the same ratio to the total engineering costs as the municipality's portion of the construction. So if you have specific questions about that, I will defer to Brian, but ultimately the grant amount, the intent is to cover those costs. So really, I think good news this morning and should be well received.
Thank you, Andrew. And we can accept that through the council with a motion from this committee.
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks.
I'll second.
Scott, questions for Andrew? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. The motion carries. Thank you, Andrew. I think there's one other item that Scott, Jim wanted to bring up in regards to reconsidering the
Yes.
open forum policy and the televised.
I would like to bring up the open forum policy. I completely agree with the policy as is, but I think it should be on TV. I think people out there should get a chance to see and hear what people are saying. So I would like to bring that back up to the council.
Sure.
And re-vote on that part of it. The policy itself as it is fine. I would just like to see it on TV.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so we could, I'm just thinking here, if this body wanted to take action, we could, I'm not saying we have to, but we could eliminate any changes in that by taking action this morning so it's televised on Monday night.
I think we should discuss it Monday night.
Okay, so that's fine. So Monday night, there's a motion to reconsider. If someone like to second that?
I'll second that.
Second that? Okay. Any questions, comments?
Can we just clarify that on Monday, we will be having it 5:15, and we're going to be going with what
Yep.
the latest council
Yep.
resolution was? Okay.
Yep. Sounds good. Scott?
Just to further clarify, as Jim was saying, I think that our intention, those who voted for this when we passed it at our last meeting, the main piece of it was moving it outside of our business meeting to the time before. That was the significant deciding factor in my case. And I think that moving it or adjusting it so that it now allows for televising it, I think is it a reasonable and appropriate move to do. And I think that I would support that.
Thanks, Scott. Any other questions, comments? We'll bring this up for consideration on Monday night. I guess there's a motion to do that on Monday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. If there's not anything else to come before this committee, we are adjourned.